Hey comic fans, welcome back to the Comic Fix episode 33.2. And I got 4 more reviews to do for you guys today. And so starting things off with Green Lantern Corps Annual Issue number 1. One thing first off is that this is the conclusion of Rise of the Third Army. There has been a whole lot of people who have been really pissed off that Rise of the Third Army has not felt like this big old event that they were promised. Instead, think of it as a prologue to the actual event of Revenge of the First Lantern. Geoff Johns has stated before that Rise of the Third Army was just the build-up to the bigger event, which is Rise of the Third Army. Now, this annual is the finishing touch on Rise of the Third Army. Third Army, as it's been going for the last couple of months, has not really built up too much up until this issue. This is the issue that finishes off the story in a way that feels like it took its time, even though we may have bitched and complained that the story was not going anywhere. The way that this book ends and starts with the Rise of the Third Army is freaking fantastic. Now, with most annuals, they can't get the artists to do the whole entire issue. They usually have 3 to 4 pencilers in there to do the issue. Well, this one is all done by one guy, Chris Cross. That's an interesting name. But it's all done by one guy. And that is pretty freaking awesome in my opinion. I kind of got tired of looking at all these different annuals with about 4 different pencilers. So right off the bat, it's awesome to see one guy take on a massive issue and do it all on his own. Now with this issue, as I said before, it's a compilation of all these stories from New Guardians of Kyle Rayner becoming a White Lantern to how Simon Baz got the ring and what he's using to learn how to use it, to the ending of Green Lantern Corps and also the ending of Red Lanterns. So to have all these 4 different stories that were leading up to this issue, it feels really gratifying to see this. I mean, it was done in such a way that I was actually impressed that it was not Geoff Johns who finished it off this story arc, but it was Peter Tomasi. Tomasi, surprisingly, he's the guy who's doing Batman and Robin, is becoming one of those writers that I'm starting to enjoy everything he's doing. I mean, there were some hiccups in his Batman and Robin run, but so far, since the whole Death of the Family started, he has really upped his game, and he's actually upped his game in the Green Lantern Corps, which is really nice to see. Now, one of the big complaints I've had about all the Green Lantern books is that it's been more focusing on the humans in the Green Lantern Corps. And it felt like, to me, that if the humans, Green Lanterns, got taken out of the game, the Guardians can easily just take over all the rest of the Corps. Which I was like, that's bullshit. I mean, they have all these different species in there, all these great characters, and I wasn't seeing them up until this point. You see Abin Sur's daughter. You see different type of alien creatures, and it was really fantastic to see. I really enjoyed the artwork all the way through, and the coloring is freaking fantastic. I do like how they have Simon Baz in this, and I thought that it would just be too much for him as being a rookie Green Lantern who has barely just learned how to power up his ring. How the hell would he be in a fight with the Guardians? Well, that doesn't happen. Basically what happens, Simon Baz, he goes into the Book of Black, basically look for Hal. So that's an interesting story, which I cannot wait to see where that's going to be taking in the Green Lantern book. Because a lot of people have been having problems with Baz as a person who has taken the place of Hal Jordan. Well, no, he's not going to take the place of Hal Jordan. But we're just interested to see a new character in Geoff Johns, who created this character, Simon Baz. Just see what he's doing with this new character. It's not always a bad thing to have new characters in your favorite book. I mean, yes, it will all go back to status quo with Hal Jordan being at the helm of the book. But fans, let the writer write a book that he wants to tell a cool story. He got a cool story, kind of like in Superior Spider-Man. Jeff Johns has a cool story with Simon Baz. Let him tell that story. I mean, we have thousands of issues and stories with Hal Jordan. Why can't we just have a little bit of time with this Simon Baz and just get to enjoy him all that much? And I can't wait till there's actually an action figure of Simon Baz, because he's become one of my favorite characters in the New 52. It feels like the New 52 was created for characters like Simon Baz or Talon. So that was really cool to see. I really enjoyed this issue. It was very climactic, and I cannot wait to see Revenge of the First Lantern. To see the First Lantern in this whole entire... yes, it is an event, but it's a mini event. It's a mini event to the bigger event. And to see the First Lantern in this whole entire story arc, and to see how the Guardians have been just basically torturing him and utilizing him, you root for the guy. I don't know where the story's going to go, but I am in it. I mean, this story was freaking amazing. The artwork was amazing. The writing was top-notch. Everything about this issue was... the writer and the artist just put their love and care into it. I really loved the coloring. Loved everything about this issue. This issue was definitely worth the $4.99 price tag. It may have started out a little slow in the story, but once it built up, it was fantastic. I really enjoyed this issue, and it kind of made me see why they had Rise of the Third Army. Now, a lot of people may have problems with the Third Army themselves and how weak they actually were, but they were just the beginning to this massive, massive story. And I can't wait to see it. So I'm going to give this book a big old thumbs up, and I'm going to say it's definitely pull worthy. So be on the lookout for this. If you're looking for a cool little comic to put on your pull list, maybe look at the Green Lantern Corps book. Because it's definitely, there's some special stuff that's been going on, especially after the last couple issues. Next up is Superior Spider-Man, issue number 2. Now, the first issue was interesting. You definitely see how Dan Slott has this interesting story to tell, and people have been saying that he heard all the cries of Val with Dr. Octavius transferring his mind into the body of Peter Parker, and basically Peter Parker dying in Otto Octavius' body. Well, in the first issue, right at the end, you saw Otto Octavius and Peter Parker's body just beating the hell out of this villain. And you see basically like a ghost figure basically tell Otto Octavius no and stop, do what you're doing. And fans were like, oh my god, he heard what he said, and he's basically setting himself up for a way out of this story. Well, I heard I've actually listened to a podcast, the Comic Vine podcast, where they interviewed the penciler for the book, and he basically stated they had this story and the ending in mind 3 to 4 months before the end of issue number 700 actually happened. So it was just not a way out, or it's not Dan Slott being like, oh, I heard all those death threats and I'm going to put this in here to shut up the fans. No, it was there a whole entire time. Now, the artist by Ryan Stegman is freaking awesome in this issue, and it's just as good as issue number 2. He really just brings some really great character moments in this issue, and I really love just the way how all the panels flow together, which is really fantastic. Now, what I don't like in this issue, it was kind of campy, is that Otto Octavius is trying to get Mary Jane to like him and basically just to have sex with him. So you see him going and taking Mary Jane on all these different dates. And you see on there, what does it say? It's pretty freaking funny. It just, Watson's dating trial 1, and you just see the results, inconclusive. And then you see him go on the second trial, and then you see the results, disappointing. And it's just really funny just to see how Dan Slott has really gotten into the mind of Otto Octavius, and this is how Otto Octavius would think. He thinks of everything as a science project. And it was just really cool to see. But as the dates are going along, you have Peter Parker in his ghostly body basically just watching over what Otto Octavius is doing and being like a father when he is watching his daughter go on his first ever date. And just him in the background be like, oh, you better not touch her like that. Oh, Otto, you're trying to have sex with my girlfriend, my once girlfriend slash wife. It was all great and all, but it got a little bit redundant. And I was just like, oh, okay, I got the point. Let's keep on going. Now, it is interesting to see Dan Slott building up Otto Octavius and seeing how he is actually superior in a way with how he's utilizing all of his technology that's at his hands to make his use as Spider-Man a little bit easier, where he has the spider bots all over town, and if something's happening, basically one of the spider bots sends a message to Otto Octavius on his phone and lets him know, oh, there's trouble at this certain point. Now, the storyline goes on, and I absolutely love how there was, I forget who it was one of the guys I listened to on YouTube. He basically thought that Otto Octavius never transferred his mind over to Peter Parker. Basically what happened is, it's just like when a person gets drunk, they're basically not in control. And what Otto Octavius did is that he is basically messing with Peter Parker's mind to make him think that Otto Octavius is in control and basically get a more different feel to him. The guy explained it a lot better than I did. But to listen to him, I think it was on the Comic Vine podcast, where he said it a bunch of times when people have questions about this series. And just the way he explained it, I was just like, okay, that makes sense. And to see how everything is playing out in this issue, it makes me think that must be the way that Dan Slott is thinking of how everything is going. I like the series. The series sometimes has some offbeat moments and some parts where I'm just like, this is a little bit redundant. It got a little bit repetitive. But all in all, I'm actually pretty interested to see where Superior Spider-Man's going to go. I mean, the ending with Mary Jane and one of Peter Parker's exes kind of has me a little intrigued. And issue number 3 is going to be coming out next week or the week after that. So we don't have to wait long for issue number 3. I'm still in it. I am enjoying the series. I think Dan Slott has an interesting idea, and it's going to be interesting to see how it's going to play out. And for now, it's on my pull list, but I'm not going to give this one, I'm going to give it a thumbs up, but not a thumbs up with a pull. It's just a regular thumbs up. I mean, it has a lot to improve on, but there's just something special here. So, next up is Jonah Hex, issue number 16. Now, Jonah Hex has been one of those interesting books for me. Let me see. Let's see if that helps. Okay. Jonah Hex has been one of those very interesting books for me. I really do enjoy it, but it's not one of those books that I go and look forward to each and every month. Every single week that I go to my comic book shop and I see it there, I'm like, okay, cool. You know, another Jonah Hex book. But this issue, has something a little special. See, now in the last issue, Jonah Hex basically got messed up really freaking bad. He got his leg all messed up, and basically right now, he's at Arkham's house, and he is being mended by this nurse. Now, at the beginning of the book, the dialogue between Hex and his nurse is freaking fantastic. Now, I am in the medical field, I am a nurse, and just to see how Jonah Hex is talking to this nurse, it's just, I've been there. I've seen that. I've been there, and it put a smile to my face. There's one of my freaking fantastic scenes in there where Jonah Hex, he's in his wheelchair and he's trying to get this last whiskey bottle to take a drink, and there's nothing left. And he looks at the nurse. And he's like, basically, I hate you. You're such a mean nurse, as he says when he's like heads just down. And you just see the nurse there like, I know, but you're gonna be more healthy when I'm around. You know, I gotta mend your bones. And so those scenes were really freaking fantastic. And then to see Jonah Hex having some moments with Arkham's mother is freaking fantastic. There's a point in there where you hear Arkham's mother, who's basically almost going through Alzheimer's, and she is just going on and on about yelling about some stuff, stuff that really doesn't make sense. So Jonah Hex getting so freaking tired of it, doesn't have any booze in him. He goes and takes his tomahawk, and he's gonna go kill the old lady. And he goes up there, and he sees some charm in her, and it was just really cool, really great dialogue. And then you get some of the typical comic book stuff with what's his name? With Dr. Hyde. Those parts, not as good as it could have been. Art in here is freaking fantastic, but the opening parts with the whole nurse, which is so cool. I just really like to see how vulnerable Jonah Hex was in this issue. There was some parts in there with the Black Diamond, because there is like this little mini crossover going on between the Black Diamond probability with All-Star Western, Catwoman, and I forget the other book. But this book had something special. It had great dialogue, great character moments, not a lot of action, but when the actions did happen, it was pretty awesome. I really enjoyed this book. I mean, every single month that I pick up this book, I enjoy it. And then the weeks keep on going by, and then on a month later, I get to pick up another issue, and I get to remember how good this series is. It's not one of those ones that I'm going to be looking forward to each and every month. But once I do get my hands on it and I read it, I'm just like, that was a good time I had. And isn't that all what you want out of your comics? So I'm going to give this book a big thumbs up, and I'm going to say it's pool worthy. There's something special here. It's better, especially with my two favorite writers, so Peter Tomasi, Gray and, what are they? Jimmy Palmiotti and Justin Gray. These guys are fantastic writers. They are doing the Giant Bomb mini that's going on, and they did the Ray. And they're just fun writers. And they just have interesting stories, which I think everybody should give a chance. And I think with the next issue, it's not going to be about Jonah Hex, but it's going to be about Stormwatch, with some early Stormwatch characters. Because one thing I forgot is that All-Star Western was supposed to be a book that's supposed to be taking place in the Western and go into different type of characters, kind of like what DC Universe Presents is. So I'm interested to see where the story's going to go next. Maybe Jonah Hex is going to have a part of it. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if the book, if people start to leave the books after Jonah Hex is off. Maybe they'll give Jonah Hex his own entire book, but right now this was pretty freaking awesome. Really enjoyed it. And now the last book for this video is Batman The Dark Knight, issue number 16. Now, the first thing I noticed is if you look at the cover, what's the one thing that's been on all of the DC comics right now? Not this banner. Yes, they've had all those banners on all their comics. But you don't see on there the New 52 anywhere on this cover. Which was interesting. I was just looking, I was like, there's no New 52 on there. Maybe they're going to start winning it off since it has been more than a year with the New 52. But that was just an interesting thing that I noticed. But I did absolutely love the cover. The cover is by Ethan Van Sciver, and he does a fantastic artwork. Now, Ethan Van Sciver, I do know that he has done some work with Green Lantern. I think, I may be wrong, but I think he did Green Lantern Rebirth, the Green Lantern Annuals, and he just did recently the Green Lantern Annual #1 in the New 52. Which was really freaking fantastic. And the artwork was absolutely beautiful. So I was interested to see where this book would go with Greg Hurwitz at the helm and Ethan Van Sciver on it art. Now, one thing I like though is that with Ethan Van Sciver is that his way that he does the panels in this book is very interesting, and the way that he does Batman's cape is very much like a bat. It's just so freaking awesome to see. I mean, the artwork is alone a reason why to pick up this book. Now, people may say, "Oh, it's just another Batman book," but no. There's something special when you have this type of this type of artist on this book. All the panels just flow. There's one scene in there which I absolutely freaking love, is that you see a kid and he's going around and with his like little toy ray gun and he's zapping everything, and his mother's basically telling him, "You're being too loud." And the next thing you know, he's just being a little bit quieter and he's going bam, 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 or pew, pew, pew. And then next thing you know, he's just out the window, everything explodes. He's like, "Oh God, did I do that?" Which kind of reminded me of the scene from The Dark Knight where those kids are in the tunnel and they're going bam, 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 and then you see everything blowing up. Kind of reminded me of that. It was just a really cool scene. And it was a scene that didn't need to be in there, but just gave a little bit extra personality to this issue. Now, this type of Batman story is a little bit cornier than something that comes out of the Batman or Detective Comics. So, for The Dark Knight, it's giving you something a little bit different. And one thing that's a little bit different is it's a little bit cornier, but it's a little bit more violent and twisted. Now, we have in here the Mad Hatter, and his part is basically in this issue is just setting up his whole entire story arc. And to see at the end with the Mad Hatter was freaking crazy. It was not Joker type of crazy, but it was a different type of crazy. And to see Eddie Van Sciver's artwork on the way he does the Mad Hatter's eyes are freaking twisted. And I guess the Mad Hatter has a dead eye or something because his left eye will always be looking off to the other side while his main eye will be looking straight at you, which is freaking scary. And I just love how different this book is. It's really freaking beautiful. I love the art. I love the writing. And it just feels something different compared to all the other Batman stories out there. Now, a lot of people do complain because there's a lot of Batman books in DC Comics. But you get a little bit of a different taste in each and every series. With Batman Inc. is Grant Morrison going Grant Morris crazy with his continuity. In Batman, you got the Scott Snyder take on it. In Detective Comics, it's a little bit different flavor. It's not as brutal as Batman, and it's not as strange humor as it is in Dark Knight. It's kind of in between, and it's more John Layman just creating a world in the Batman universe, and it's freaking amazing. And then with Greg Hurwitz, he's kind of taking the C-listers and reinventing them in the New 52. It's freaking awesome. And I did notice a lot that I think Greg Hurwitz has a big love for the Penguin, because he did do the Penguin Pain and Prejudice, which was freaking awesome. And you do get to see a little bit of the Penguin in this issue. This issue has a lot to add to the whole mythos of Batman in the New 52. And I don't know where it takes place, because in here we do see Alfred, and there's basically no mention of the Joker. But what we get is just a really cool story, and I'm okay with it. I don't feel like right now that it's in continuity with all the stuff that's going on and Batman. Maybe that's the reason why they don't have the New 52 logo on here, is because maybe it is out of continuity and it is just a story for Greg Hurwitz just to tell whatever he wants to tell. Which is kind of what the DC Comics has allowed for Grant Morrison to do, the Grant Morrison crazy stuff in Batman Inc. So there's a lot to be had in this issue. I really did enjoy it. It was fun. Would I give it a thumbs up? Hell yeah, I will. But will I give it a pull list worthy? Not yet. But definitely, if you love Ethan Van Sciver's artwork, go pick this book up. You'll definitely be enjoying it. I'm interested to see where he's going to be taking this story next. And I don't know how long he's going to be on the book, but as long as he's on the book, I'm going to definitely be picking it up. And I do love the work that Greg Hurwitz has been doing. So that's it for this issue, but this episode. And I'll be back on tomorrow to put out another video with 4 more books. And we will have Hawkeye in that bunch tomorrow. So everybody, I'll see you guys tomorrow. And I'll see you guys next time.